You see them every single morning sitting right above your house on those wires, and you have never once questioned why. You walk out your front door, coffee in hand, birds lined up overhead like they own the street, and your brain just files it away as normal. But here is the thing. Everything you think you know about why they are up there is incomplete, and scientists only figured out the real reason a few years ago. It is not about rest. It is not about warmth. And it is definitely not random. The wire above your driveway right now is part of a navigation system so precise it would make your phone's GPS look like a paper map from 1987. Inside the eye of every single bird sitting on that wire, there is a protein called cryptochrome 4 that reacts to Earth's magnetic field through quantum entanglement. And we are talking actual quantum physics happening inside a living creature over your street right now. That bird is not sitting there because it is tired. It is sitting there because that wire runs in the exact direction its internal compass is calibrated to. Your neighborhood is not a random stop. It is a coordinate. And the line of birds you pass every morning is not a coincidence. It is a pattern that took millions of years of evolution to produce, and it is happening 3 feet above your head without you ever noticing. What you are about to learn in the next 12 minutes is going to make it genuinely impossible to look at your street the same way again. We are going to break down why trees, which seem like the obvious choice, are actually a death trap. We are going to show you what that bird sees that you are completely blind to. And we are going to reveal what is happening to bird DNA in your city right now because of those wires. You are watching Milo Knows, where the world outside your window turns out to be the strangest place on Earth. Subscribe and let's begin.
Most people have a simple answer ready when you ask them why birds sit on power lines. They are resting, they are looking for food, they are just hanging out. And that answer feels right, because it sounds logical and nobody ever pushed back on it, so it just stuck. But here is where it falls apart. If birds just wanted to rest, there are 10,000 better options within 100 feet of that wire. Your roof, the oak tree in your neighbour's yard, the fence along your driveway, softer surfaces, warmer surfaces, surfaces that do not require constant micro-adjustments from every single muscle in their legs, just to stay upright. A power line is a thin, vibrating metal cable suspended in open air, and gripping it in wind requires active muscular effort every second. That is not rest. That is work. So the moment you actually think about it, the obvious explanation collapses completely, and the real reason birds choose that wire over every other surface on your street has nothing to do with comfort and everything to do with survival strategy. The first layer of that strategy is visibility. A wire has 0 blind spots, no branches blocking the left side, no leaves hiding what is coming from above, no wall cutting off the view behind. When our bird, let's call him 1, sits on the wire above your street, he has an unobstructed 360-degree field of vision that no tree in your neighborhood can match. A hawk cannot approach from any angle without one seeing it first. That single advantage outweighs every physical discomfort of gripping cold metal in the wind. But visibility is only the first layer, and it is honestly the least interesting one, because what researchers discovered when they started putting sensors on urban birds changed the whole picture. The wire is not just a lookout post. It is a thermal map, a navigation anchor and a social broadcast tower all at once, and one figured that out long before any scientist did. It is 6:47 in the morning, and one has not eaten since yesterday afternoon. He weighs 28 grams, which is roughly the same as 4 American quarters stacked in your palm, and right now every single one of those grams is fighting against the cold. The temperature on your street dropped to 29 degrees overnight, and one's body needs to stay at 107 degrees Fahrenheit to survive. That gap, 29 outside 107 inside, is the battle he fights before you even roll out of bed. He could go to the oak tree 2 houses down. The branches are thicker there, and the leaves give some wind protection, but here is the problem with that tree and every other tree on your block. Trees are ambush country. A Cooper's hawk can sit completely still inside dense branches for 40 minutes, and one would never see it coming until it was 3 feet away and moving at 35 miles per hour. So one makes a calculation that has been hardwired into his species for thousands of years, and he lands on the wire above your driveway instead. And the moment he lands, something interesting happens. The wire one chose runs directly alongside a transformer box mounted on the pole 20 feet to his left. That transformer bleeds a small, constant amount of heat into the metal, and the wire is measurably warmer than the air around it. Not warm enough for you to notice, warm enough for one to notice immediately. Researchers at the Max Planck Institute tracked urban starlings across 6 European cities and found that on mornings below, freezing birds chose wires within 30 feet of transformer equipment 70% more often than wires further away. One is not sitting above your house by accident. He is using your street's electrical infrastructure as a heating system, and he has been doing it his entire life without a single person on your block ever realizing it. Now here is where it gets genuinely strange. One is not just sitting on that wire because it is warm and open. He is sitting on that specific wire on that specific pole on your street because of something happening inside his eye that has no business existing in a living creature. In the retina of one's eye, there is a protein called cryptochrome 4. Most animals have some version of this protein. But in birds, it does something that sounds like it belongs in a physics lecture, not a biology class. When light hits cryptochrome 4 in one's retina, it triggers a quantum reaction between pairs of electrons, a process called radical pair mechanism, and that reaction is physically sensitive to the direction of Earth's magnetic field. What this means in plain language is that one sees magnetism, not as a feeling or an instinct, as a visual overlay. Researchers at the University of Oldenburg confirmed in 2021 that birds perceive magnetic field lines as a pattern superimposed directly onto their vision, something close to a heads-up display that shifts and brightens depending on which direction they are facing. Now look at the wire above your house. Power lines in urban grids are engineered to run in straight, consistent directions, tied to city planning coordinates, which in most neighborhoods means they align remarkably closely with geographic north-south and east-west axes. To you, that wire is a cable carrying electricity. To one, that wire is a glowing landmark on his magnetic map of your entire neighborhood. It is the equivalent of a highlighted route on a navigation screen, and it tells him exactly where he is every single morning before he takes his first flight. We just broke down how one navigates your street on a quantum level, and that alone should change how you look out your window. But what he does when 50 birds join him on that wire, the collective behavior that emerges, is an entirely different level of strange. Subscribe to Milo Knows so you do not miss what comes next.
Everything one does every single morning is happening right now outside your window, and most people walk past it every day of their lives without a second thought. But there is a side to this story that nobody in your neighborhood knows about, and it is darker than anything we have covered so far. The same wires that one uses as a thermal anchor and a magnetic landmark are killing birds at a scale that most people find genuinely difficult to believe when they first hear the number. Between 12 and 64 million birds die every year in the United States alone, from power line collisions and electrocution. That range is wide because the research is still catching up to the problem, but even the low end of that estimate means that right now, today, somewhere within a few miles of your house, a bird is dying on a wire that looks exactly like the one is sitting on. And here is the part that should stop you completely. One knows this. Not consciously the way you and I process danger, but in the way that species-level memory works, through behavior shaped by generations of loss. Researchers tracking urban starling populations across Chicago and Philadelphia found something that changes the entire picture of what we thought we understood about birds and cities. Starlings living within 500 feet of high-voltage lines for more than 3 generations have measurably altered their flight approach patterns. They do not dive toward wires at steep angles anymore. They come in flat and slow from the side. Nobody taught them that. The wire above your driveway has been there long enough that the birds using it right now are not the same birds that first learned it was dangerous. They are the grandchildren of the ones that survived. Your street is not just a neighborhood. It is a selection event that has been running quietly above your head for decades, and one is the current result of everything it filtered out. One is not special. That is the most remarkable thing about him. Every city on every continent right now has its own version of one, sitting on its own version of the wire above your street. And collectively, what those birds are doing is giving scientists the clearest window they have ever had into evolution happening in real time. Not over millions of years, not over thousands, over decades. Researchers at McGill University analyzed wing measurements from urban house sparrows collected across North American cities between 1970 and 2020. And what they found has been described by ornithologists as one of the most striking examples of rapid morphological change ever recorded in vertebrates. The birds living closest to dense power line networks had developed measurably shorter, broader wings, optimized specifically for the kind of low-speed, tight-angle maneuvering that urban wire navigation demands. 50 years, roughly 25 bird generations. Enough time to physically reshape a wing that took millions of years to evolve in the first place. The infrastructure your city built for electricity quietly became one of the most powerful evolutionary pressures on urban wildlife in recorded history, and it is still running right now above every street, in every neighborhood, in every city where you have ever lived. One will leave that wire above your house in about 40 minutes. He will fly 3 blocks east, follow the line of poles your city installed in 1987, cross above the intersection where you probably buy your coffee, and land on another wire that his grandfather's grandfather was already using before you were born. He does not know your name. He does not know your street. But his entire body has been shaped by the world your species built. And every morning, he sits above your house. He is the living proof of that. Now look out your window. He is probably still there. Have you ever noticed birds in your neighborhood all lifting off that wire at the exact same moment, like a single organism making one decision? Write it in the comments below. I read every single one.